international flight now.
Let's bring in Alistair Rosenshine, former pilot and aviation consultant, as well as David Fuscus, aviation crisis consultant. Gentlemen, thank both of you. We want to thank both of you for being here with us. Alistair, I want to start with you. And I think the first question a lot of people are wondering is, should I get on a plane and should commercial airplanes be flying over conflict zones?
Well, airlines, first of all, let me say that it is safe to fly on airlines, and I wouldn't hesitate to get on board one myself right now. Is it safe to fly over conflict zones? Very good question. Over most conflict zones, it is, surprisingly, even though people may find this difficult to accept, but it does remain safe to fly at high altitude over most conflict zones. But conflict zones where aircraft are being shot down clearly is not, and that will remain the case for forevermore. Whether or not airlines should in the future be equipped with some sort of gadgets to defend themselves against missiles, I don't believe there is any such technology that is, economically or feasible to fit to airliners. But I wouldn't hesitate to fly airliners today in the world, clearly not over eastern Ukraine at this very moment.
David, let's push this just a step further here.
Sure.
After there were the two planes that were shot down above the range or beyond the range of shoulder-fired missiles, was this a failure of protocol, and if so, on the part of which agency?
No, I really don't think it was a failure of protocol. Listen, airplanes, commercial aircraft fly every day over conflict zones, and the reason they do is because they fly very high. They are obviously commercial airliners by the altitude, the way they fly, by the transponders that they emit, and so really, you would think it would be safe. It's not safe to fly over a conflict zone when there are government-controlled heavy weapon systems that are being used. And in this case, this weapon system was given by the Russian government to the rebels. And let's call this what it is. This was just mass murder.
Alistair, I'm wondering, what are the hot spots? I mean, some people might be thinking about taking trips. What are the hot spots in terms of, you think Iraq, you think Afghanistan, you think the tribal zones of Pakistan? Are there areas that you deem unsafe or that the airline industry deems unsafe and should not fly?
Well, airlines have been flying over Afghanistan during the conflict and over Pakistan for many years, and I've done so many times myself, and it remains safe to fly airliners there. We have to point out here, it's very important to point out, this does appear to have been a horrible mistake. It was not a targeted, at least I imagine it's not targeted. Had this been a deliberate terrorist action, then that would be a completely different ballgame, and one would start to look at other conflict zones in, with much greater detail. But at the moment, I think that the international aviation industry has got the balance right between risk and the economical aspect of their operations. It is utterly irresponsible for any nation, be it Iran or Russia, to hand sophisticated weapons over to unregulated, terrorists or rebels who, without proper knowledge of how to use the equipment or with malicious intent, can prove dangerous to airlines. But at the moment, I think that, I would not be unduly concerned about flying in regulated airspace on international airlines.
So, David, we're now seeing what the political consequences will be of MH17. Do you see that there will be, or can you envision any consequence or any changes in the aviation industry based on what happened on Thursday?
This wasn't a breakdown in aviation safety. This was an act of mass murder, either directly by a government or by complicity by giving the weapons to the militia groups. What you've got is kind of a diffused system of warnings that go around the globe. The International Civil Aviation Organization issues warnings to governments, then governments give out warnings to their airlines. So there's no global system for warning planes airplanes away from conflict zones. But flying high, flying very high, it will continue to be safe unless we have a situation like we had in the Ukraine.
All right, Alistair Rosenshine, David Fuscus, thank you so much for joining us this morning.